Hello, hello. How on earth are we? I may have to turn on a light in a moment. That one's out of water, isn't it? Yeah. Knocked over my bottle. It's here. Manage requests. So how have we been? Hopefully all is well. Yeah, I'm gonna have to turn on the light. Problem is I've got a lot of natural light coming in, so I've got to keep it reasonably low. That should be fine. Excellent. So we shall be continuing the golden treasury of longer poems that we are currently partway through. It's terribly fun to read, but very difficult to read. Need to make sure it's looked after properly. Anyway, let us progress. And hold this music. If the sound of the fan is too loud, do please let me know. There we are. Hang on, why is that not capture? Oh, I know why. I did a silly. I want these over here anyway. Much better. Now the captions will actually do something. Whereabouts? That's where I would have stopped. So we're simply picking up from where I dropped off last time. Lo, here is our sight, and here Palmon, that freely wern out my prison, and might have lived in this royally, and now I am their mortal enemy. Hello, Gibbed, how are you doing today? Posture check indeed. Good luck with the stream. Many thank. And that their death lieth in my might also. I brought them hider both so to die. Now look ye, is not that an high folly? Who may not be a fool, if that he love? Behold, for Goddess' sake, that sitteth above, thus hath their Lord, the God of love, them paid their wages and their fees for their service, and yet their women, for to be full wise, and the server love, for aught there may befile. But this is yet the best game of all. that she, for whom they have this jealousy, can them therefore as much thank as me. She what no more of all this hut, for she hang on, by God. Then what a cocoa of on here. But all must be aside, hot or cold. A man must be a fool of young or old. I wot it be myself full you're agone. For in my time a lover was I one, and since that I knew well of love's pain, and what how sore it can a man disdain, as he that hath been oft caught in his trap. I you forgive wholly this mishap, at request of the Queen that kneeleth here, and eke the Emily, my sister dear. And ye shall both anon unto me swear that never ye shall harm my courtier dear, nor make wear on me by night or day. But my friends, in all that ye may, I will forgive this trespass every whit. And then him swore his axing fairy and fit, and him for lordship and for mercy prayed, and to them granted mercy, and thus he said, to speak the royal name and riches, through that she were a queen or a princess. Each of you both is woefully doubtless, to wed then time is. But none the less I speak as for my sister Emily, for whom ye have this strife and jealousy. Ye wot yourself she may not wed two at once, although ye fought evermo, not one of ye, whether he be loth or life, he may go play upon an ivy leaf. This is to say, she nought have both, I'll be ye never so jealous or so loth. Therefore I put ye both in this degree, that each of you shall have his destiny, as him is shape, and hearken in that ways. Lo, here the end of that I shall devise. My will is this, for plain conclusion, without any replication. Replication. Interesting. If that ye liketh, take it for the best, that each of you shall go wherever he list, freely without ransom or danger. And this day 50 weeks, far or near, each of you then shall bring 100 knights armed for lists. Lists. Interesting. Here in all our sights, all ready to contest her by battle. And thus command I you without fail upon my troth. And as I am a knight, that which of you two both that hath might, this is to say, that whether he or thou may with the 100 as I speak of now, slay his country, or out of Leicester drive. Him shall I give fair Emily to wave, to whom that fortune gaveth so fair a grace. The lists shall I make here in this place, and God so wisely on my soul have ruth, as I shall even judge be in truth. Ye shall no other end with me make, that one of you shall either be dead or take. And if ye thinketh this is well I said, say your say, and hold your well aplayed. This is your end, and your conclusion. Who looketh longeth now but Pullman, who spaketh up for joy but Arcite, who could tell, or who could well entide, that joy that is made in all this place. When Theseus hath done so far a grace, but down on knees went every man white, and thinking him all their hearts might, and namely those two Thebes of his grace, and thus with good hope and with merry face they take their leave, and homeward both they ride to Thebes' ward with old Wally's ward. Wade. I trow man would damn it negligence. Sorry. No, that's negligence. How very odd. If I forgot to tell this, to tell the disciples, dispense, of Theseus, that goeth so busily to making up the license rule royally, and such a noble theatre to see, I dare say, in this world shall never be. The circuit of it was a mile about, walled of stone, and diked all the way. Round was the shape in manner of compass, full of degrees, the height of 60 pace. I'm sorry, yes, 60 pace. That when a man was set on the degree, he stayed not his fellow far to see. Eastward there stood a gate of marble weight, westward another such in opposite, and shortly, to conclude such a place, was none in earth within so little space. In all the land there was no craftsman that geometry of architecture can, no potterian, nor carver, or how do you say that? He makes, that Theseus gave not his mate and wages, the theatre for the making and devies, and for to do his right and sacrifice, his eastward hath upon the gate above, in worship of Venus, goddess of love, done make an altar and an oratory, and westward, in the maiden and memory of Mars, he hath a maken temple, that cost of gold and silver largely, and northward, in the torrent on the wall, of an alabaster, white and red coral, an orchard rich for to see, that clean Dane goddess of chastity, of chastity, right, hath Thesis wrought in noble wise, but yet had I forgotten to devise the noble carving and the portraits, the sharp and continuous of the figures. Continuancy. That weren in that ornates three. First in the temple of Venus thou may see, wrought in the wall, full piteous of behold, the breaking slips, and the sea is cold, the sacred terrace, and the laminating, and fiery strokes, and the desiring that loves servants, yeah, in his life enduring. The others that their covens assure pleasance and hope, desire, foolhardiness, beauty and youth, lechery and riches, charms and sorcery, lessons and flattery, dispense. Yeah, dispense. Busyness and jealousy, that word of yellow golds and garland, that the cockle sitting on her head, feasts and instruments, carols and denunces, lust and array, and all the circumstances of love, which I reckoned and reckon shall, each by their other, were patented on the wall, and more than I can make of mention, for southly all the moment of Sir Catherine. Cathoran, terribly sorry, where Venus hath had principal dwelling, was sure of the wall in Portain, while all the garden and all the lustiness naught was forgot. The porter, idleness, Narcissus, and fine of long ago, and all the folly of King Solomon, and all the great strength of Hercules. Oh, that's the one. Enchantments. Yet the enchantments of Mere and Carcass, and Turnus, and Herod fire in courage, and the rich crosses caitiff in savage. Thus may we see the wisdom and riches beto the side. Strength and hardness may not with Venus hold comparison, for as to list she turned up or down. Lo, all this folk a court were in her trance, till they for woeful often said, alas, suffocateth. This ensample, one or two, although I reckon could 1,000 mo', the statue of Venus, glorious for to see, was naked, floating in the large sea, and from the navel down all covered was with waves, green and bright as any glass. In her right hand a harp had she, and on her head full sem lay for to see, a rose garland, sweet and well smelling. Above her head her doves were flickering, before her stood her some Cupid. Upon his shoulders were wings too, and blithe he was and bold he was, as it is often seen. A bow he bare, and arrows fair and keen. Why should I not as well tell ye all? The portrait that was upon the wall within the temple of Mars of mighty strength. All painted was the wall in breadth and length, like to the halls in the grisly place, called the great temple of Mars in Thrace, within that cold and frosty region where Mars hath built his sovereign mansion. First on the wall was painted a forest, in which dwelled neither man nor beast, with knotty gnarly barn, trees old with stubs sharp and hideous to behold, in which there ran a rumble and a moan, as though a storm should tear the branches down, and downward where the hill to a plain is bent. They stood the temple of Mars, army potent, wrought all of the burned steel, of which the entry was long and straight, and the ghastly for to see. And throughout came blast in such wise that it made all the gates for to rise. The northern lights in at the door shone, for widow of the wall was there none, through which men might the light of day discern. The doors were all adamant, attain, ye clenched overwrought, and indone, with iron through and for to make it strong. Every pillar the temple to sustain was round and great, of iron bright and sheen. That saw I first the dark imagining of felony and all the comparacy, the cruel wrath as any fair thread, the pickers, that's a word, pickers, and eke the pale dread, the smiler with his knife under his cloak, the stables burying with the black smoke, the tracer of the Methrine in the bed, the open wars, with wonders all ye blade. One moment, please. Terribly sorry, and many thanks for the luck. alright. Terribly sorry about that. Apparently the little sister forgot what day it was. Quite alright, quite alright. Also, that is an adorable heart. I love it. We shall continue. I shall have a drink first, though. Lovely. Let's pause that quick. We are on to the next page now. DVA mechanics. Interesting name. Conflict with bloody knife and sharp menace, all full of shrieking was the sorry place. The slain of himself yet saw I there, his heart blood hath bathed all his hair, and nigh driven in the skull at night. The cold death, the mouthy gaping upright, in midst of all the temple set. Oh, hold on. Mass. Mischance. Interesting. Which sorry comfort the evil contrarians. Then I saw madness laughing in his rage, armed complaint, alarmed of fierce outrage, the body in the bushes, with throat bleeding. 1,000 slain, and none of sickness dead. The tyrant with the prey by force ye fert, the tone destroyed. There was nothing left. They burned the ships, dancing up and down. They died the hunter by the wild lion. They so eaten the child, right in the cradle. The cook is scalded for all his long ladle. Naught was forgot the infortune of Mart. The carter, overridden by his cart. Under the wheel full low he lay adone. There were also in Mars his region the barber, and the butcher, and the smith that forgoth sharp swords on his steed, and all above ye painted in a tower. So I conquest sitting in great honour, the sharp sword hanging over his head, fastened by a slender twine thread. Painted was the slaughter of Julius, of great Nero, and of Antonius, albeit that at the time they were unborn. Yet was their death ye painted there before, by mensing of Mars, each one's figure so was ensured in the portraiture. I will get the right word, I swear. As in ye painted in the stars above, who shall be slain, or who shall die for love, suffocate. One example in stories old, I may not reckon them all, though I would. The statue of Mars upon the crate stood, armed, and looked grim and red as blood, and over his head they signed 2 figures of stairs, that be clapped in scriptures, then one puel, that other's rubious. This god of armies was armed thus. A wolf there stood before him at his feet, with eyne red, and of a man he ate, with subtle pencil painted with this story, is honouring of Mars, and on his glory. Now to the temple of Dian, the chaste, as shortly as I can, I will me haste to tell you all the description, dependent by the walls, up and down, of haunting and shamefast chastity. Then saw I how woeful Callisto. I don't know that one at all. When the Dane was aggraved with her, was turned from the women to a bear, and after was she made the Lord stare. Thus was the painted. I can say no more. Her son is eke a star, as man may see. There saw I Dane turned into a tree. I mean not the Hagorstein, but Penga's daughter, and which height Dane hair see. I Othon, an heart I marked, for vengeance that he saw Dane all naked. I saw now that his hounds have him caught and eaten him, for that they knew him not, yet painted was a little farthermore. How Athalians haunted the wild boar, and the Margery, and many other more, for which Dane wrought the care and woe. They saw I full many another story, the which me list not draw in memory. The goddess of the heart, full high she sat, with small bundles all about her feet, small bundles all around her feet, and underneath her feet she had a moon, waxen it was, and should wane soon. Moonright, in gold green her statue clothed was, with bow in hand and arrow in a case. Her eye cast she full low adown, where Pluto hath his dark region. A woman travelling was her before, but for her child so long was unborn, full piteously Lassian gan she call, and said, Help, for thou mayest best of all. Well, could he paint in life like that, it wrought with many a flown, he the house bought. Now be these lists made and thesis, and at this great cost, arrayed thus, and temples, and the theats to see. When it was done, it liked him wonderly, but stayed I will of Theseus a light, and spake of Palman and of our side. The day approacheth of their tourneying. They each should 100 knights bring. Oh, terribly sorry. The battle of maintaining, as I you told, and to Athens their covent to hold, hath each of there brought out 100 knights, well armed for the war at all rights. The Cartilian, Cartilian, there, how odd, there throned many a man that never since the day was wood began to spake to knighthood or of high degree, as fur as God hath made land or sea, came from so few, so good a company. For every knight that loveth chivalry, and would seek to have a noble name, hath prayed that he might be at this game. Well was to him that thereto chosen was, for if this fell tomorrow such a case, I know well what every lusty knight that loveth his lady, and that hath his might, were it in England or elsewhere, they would long, doubtless, to be there to fight for a lady. Been sight. It was a lusty sight for to see, and right so journey they with Palam, with him there want knights many a noon. Some will be armed in an armor stout, in a breastplate and a light coat, and some would have a pair of plates, large, and so would have the prose shield of Targtson, will be armed of their legs well, and have an axe and eke a mace of steel. There is no new guise that is not old. Armed were they, as I have now you told, each at their pleasure and opinion. Oh, have an amazing evening. Many thanks. So sounds evil in a way. Good one. So far, this is about two men that are going to fight over the love of a woman, one of which them has married at one point but got put in prison, and the other one banished. They were both about to fight for her love, but the king stopped them and said, right, come back at this time with 100 knights each. Whoever wins gets her. It's tremendous to read, very awkward to follow, I imagine. It's lovely, though. I do enjoy it. Each to his pleasure. Also, to each of you, welcome. How are we today? There mayst thou see coming with Palmouth Lickering himself, the gate king of Trace. Black was his beard, and manly was his face, the circles of his eyes in his head, the golden betwixt yellow and red. And like a griffin looked he about, with shaggy hairs on his brow stout, his limbs great, his brows hard and strong, his shoulders broad, his arms round and lang. And as he gazed was in his country Full high upon car of gold stood he, with 4 white bulls in the trace. It stayed of court armour on his harness. He had a bear skin, coal black and old, with nails yellow and bright as any gold. His long hair he kept behind his back, and as any raven father it shone for black. A wreath of gold arm great and huge of weight, upon his head sat full of stones bright, of fiery rubies, of diamonds. Interesting. About his cart there went white hounds, 20 and more, as great as any steer, to hunting at the lion or the bear, and followed him with muzzles fast and bound, collared with gold, and rings flared round. 100 lords had he in his rout, armed full well with hearts stern and stout. With our sight in stories ye shall find the great Emetes, the king of Yund, upon a steed bay, trapped in steel, covered with cloth and gold, draped well, came riding like the god of arms, Mars. His coat armour was of a cloth of tars, broidered with pearls and weight round and great. His saddle was of burnt gold, newly bait. A mantlet upon his shoulder hanging, brimful of rubies, as far sparkling. His crisp hair all into rings dyed, and that was Jarl, and glittering as the light. His nose was high, his eyne bright and keen, his lips round, his colour was sanguine. A few freckles in his face sparkled, betwixt Jarl and black, somewhat mingled. And as a lion on a lichen cast, or 25 years age I cast. His beard was well bygone, for his spraken, his vows was as a trump thundering. Upon his head he ware laurel green, a garland fresh and lusty for to seen. Upon his head he bar, for his diet, an eagle tame as any lyle white. 100 lords had he with him there, all armed save their heads in that gear, full richly in all manner things, for trust well that dukes, earls, kings were guarded in this noble company, for love and for increase of chivalry. About the king they ran, on every part, full many a tame lion and leopard. And in this wise these lords are the same. Terribly sorry. Beyond the Sunday to the city come, about prime, and in the town all right this Theseus, this duke, this worthy knight, when he had brought them into the city, and in them each one at his degree, he fasteth them, and doth so great labour to lodge them, and do them all honour, that yet men thinketh that no manner's weight of none estate could aught amid it. The minstrel, the minstrel, the service at the feast, the great gifts to the most and least, the richy array of Theseus' palace, and who sat first and last upon the dais, what ladies fairest be of best deigning, or which of them can harpen best a sang, and who most fellingly speaketh of love, what hawks sitten on the perches above, what hounds lying on the floor adone. Of all this make I now no mention, but of the effect, that thinketh me the beast. Now cometh the point of hearken, if you list. The Sunday night, ere day began to spring, upon Palma the lark hard sighing, although it was not day by hours too. Yet sang the lark and Palma also, with holy heart and with an high courage. He rose to wander on his pilgrimage unto the blissful Cythera Benjin, I mean Venice, honourable and dign. And in her hour he walketh for a pace unto the least, where her temple was, and down the nail, and with humble cheer and heart sore, he said, as ye shall hear, fairest of fair, O lady mine Venus, daughter of Jove, and spouse of Velacnius. We'll go with that, Velacnius. Thou gladder of the mount of Cithron, for that great love thou hadst to Adon, have pity on me, bitter tear smart, and take mine humble prayer to thine heart. Alas, I have no longer for to tell the effects of the torment of mine hell. Mine heart may mine harness not betray. I am so confused that I may not say, but mercy, lady bright, that knowest well my thought, and feelest what harm that I feel, consider all this, have ruth upon my sore, and wisely shall I now for evermore, with all my might, thy trow servant be, and hold where alway with chastity, that make I mine avow, so ye may help. I care not of armies for to help, nor do I ask to mourn to the victor. Our reunion in this case, our vain glory of prize of armies blowing up and down, but I would have that full possession of Emily and dying in thy service. Find thou the manner how, and in what ways I raged not, if it may better be to have victory of him, or he of me, so that I have my lady in mine arms. For thought so be that Mars be god of armies, and ye be Venus, the goddess of love. Your virtue is so great in heaven above, thy temple will I worship evermore. And on their altar, whether I ride or go, I will do sacrifice and fires light. And if ye will not so, my lady bright, then pray I thee tomorrow with a dead. Their fears, our sight may pierce me to my heart, then reckon I not, when I have lost my life, thought that our sight have here to his wife. This is their effect, and end of the prayer. Give me my love, thou blissful lady dear. I thoroughly enjoyed that. That was lovely. When the oration was done, the palman his sacrifice he did, and that anon full piteously with all circumstances, through tell I not as now his observance. But at the last the statue of Venus shook and made a sign, whereby he took that as prayer accepted, and that day, for thought, the sign should delay. Yet wist he well that granted was his boon, and with great heart he went him home full soon. The third hour inquire that Palam began to Venus' temple for to goon. Uprose the sun, and uprose Emily, and to the temple of Diane goes she high, her maidens that she with her theatre laid, full ready with them the fire they had, the incense, the clothes, and the remnant, all that to the sacrifice logen shall. The horns full of mead, as in the jays, there lacketh naught to do their sacrifice. Smoky in the temple, full of clothes of fire. This Emily with heart debonair, her body wash with water of a whale. But now she did nae her right, I dare not tell, save it be anything in general. And yet it was a game to hear it all. To him that meaneth well, it were no wrong. But it is good man should kept his tongue. Her bright hair was kept untressed, all a corning of a green oak sear upon her head. was set full fair and bright, and 2 fires on the altar gan she light, and did all things as man may behild, in stace of Thesis, and the books old, when kindlin was the fire, the piteous cheer unto Dine, and spake, as ye may bear. O chest's goddess of the woods green, be whom both heaven and earth, and sea and scene, queen of the region of Pluto dark and low, goddess of maidens. Interesting. That mine heart has know. Full many a year ye wot what I desire. So keep me fro the vengeance and the ire that Anthon did suffer truly. O Chester goddess, well knowest thou that I desire to be a maiden all my life, nor never will I be no love nor wife. I am which thou knowest of thy companion, a maiden, and love hunting and venery, and for to walking in the woods wild, and not to be a wife, and be with children, naught will I know the company of man. Now help me, lady, since ye mine and can, for the 3 forms that thou hast in thee, the Pullman that hath such love for me, and the eke Arcite that love me so sore. The grace I pray thee, without more, and send love and peace betwixt them two, and fro me torn away their hearts so, that all their heart love, and their desire, and all their torment, and their busy fire be quenched of turned in other place. And if so be thou wilt do me no grace, or if my destiny be shaped so that I shall needs to have no one of them too, so send me him that most desireth me. Behold, goddess of clean chastity, the bitter tears that on my cheek fell, since thou art maimed, and keep of us all my maidenhood thou keep, and well conserve, and while I live a maiden I will thee serve. The fires burn upon the altar clear, while Emily was thus in her prayer, and suddenly she saw the sight quench, for right anon on the fires did faint, and glow again, and after that anon that other fire was quenched, and all again, and as in quenching it made a whistling, and doth wait brand in his burning, and at the brand's end outrun anon, as it were bloody drops many an one. For which so sore against was Emily, that she well not mad was and gone to cry, for she ne wist what it signified, but all alone for fear thus she cried, and wept that it was paid to hear, and therewithal dying gan appear. with bow in hand, right as a huntress, and said, "Ah, daughter, stand thy heaviness among the goddess hide. It is affirmed, and in the eternal word writ and confirmed, thou shalt be wedded unto one of these that have for thee so many cares and woes, but unto which one of them may I not tell. Farewell, for I may here no longer dwell. The fires which that on mine altar burn shall thee declare, ere that thou homeward turn. Thine adventure of love, and in this place. And with that word, the arrows in the case of the goddess clattered fast and rang, and forth she went, and made a holy vanishing, for which this aimly astonished was, and said, "What a maith this, alas! I put me under thy protection thine, and in thy disposition." And home she goeth, anon the next way. This is the effect, there is no more to say. The hour next of Mars that followed this. We read in the Holy Bible? Oh, of course not. But we are enjoying very old poetry. It's incredibly hard to read. I'm not putting on an accent, it's forcing it. How are you today? Arcite unto the temple walked in, to fire Mars, to do his sacrifice, with all his rites of a pagan's wise, with piteous heart, and he devotion. Right thus to Mars he said his oraison. O strong God, in the country gold of Thrace honoured and Lord art thou hold, and hast in every realm and every land of armies all the bridle in the hand, and the guidest all as thou dost well devise, except of me my piteous sacrifice. If so be that my youth may deserve, and that my might be worth, for to save the Godhead that I mays, be one of thine, then pray I thee have pity on my pain, for that pain, and that for hot fire, in which home thou burnedest for desire, when that thou didst obtain the great beauty of fire Venus, that is so fresh and free, the hardest here in armies at thy will, though on time mischief thee befile, when Vulcan caught thee in his net wide. Talk normally. Walmart corpse, what? The problem is, if I'm talking normally, I'm completely unable to actually read this because it's not written as proper words. It's forcing a particular speaking pattern. That's lingering. Ligggyng. By his wife. Wife is Wyfes. So lingering by his wife's side is now, if I read it as it should be read, ligging by his wife's side. Whereas if I read it in the way the book forces me to, and lingering in his wife's side. Sorry, by his wife's side. You do have to bend to how the book is written, but it makes for a wonderful reading experience, so long as you don't trip on a word. Let wide and fand thee lingering by his wife's side, for that same sorrow that was in thine heart, have pity too upon my pain's smart. I am young and unknown as thou knowest, and and as I throw with love offended most, that ever was any living creature, for she that doth me all this woe endure, nor recketh never whether I sinketh or live. And well I wot, ere she me mercy give, I must strength weighing her in this place, and well I wot, withouten help or grace of thee, my strength may not be with avail. Then help me, Lord, tomorrow in my battle, for the same fire that whilom burned the right, so this fire now it burneth me. Make no tomorrow I have the victory, mine be the travel, all then be the glory. Thy sovereign temple will I most honour of any place, and always most labouring in the pleasure and in the craft strong. And in the temple I will my banner hung, and all the armies of my company, and evermore unto that day I die. Eternal fire I will befoul thy fighting, and eke to the aview I will me bind, my beard, mine hair, that hangeth long adone, that never yet has felt of... Ooh, that's a word. Of fashion, of razor, or of shear, I will thee give, and be thy true servant whilst I live. Lord, have thou pity upon my sorrow sore. Give me the victor, I ask no more. The prayer ended in our sight, the strong, the rinds of the temple door that hang, and eke the doors clattered full fast, of which our sight somewhat was aghast. The fires brendan on the altar bright, then it gan all the temple forth light. A sweet smell anon the ground did give, anon his hand our sight did upheave, and more incense into the fire he cast, with other rites, and then attire last. The statue of a Mars began his havoc reign, and with that sound he heard a murmuring. Full low and dame, and said thus, Victory! For which he gave to Mars honour and glory, and thus with joy and hope well to win, our sight anon is gone unto his inn, as fine as bird is of the bright sun, and right anon such strife there is begun, for that same Grantin in the heaven above, betwixt Venus, the goddess of love, and Mars, the stern god omnipotent, that Jupiter was busy it to stand, till the pale Satmus, the cold, that knew so many adventures old, found in the old experience of art, that he full some hath pleased every part. At some is said, it hath great adventure. In ald is both wisdom and usage. Men may outrun, but not outconsole age. Saturn anon to state strife and rage, although to do thys be against his mind. Of all this strife he can be the remedy finden. My dear daughter Venus, quoth Saturn, my course that hath so wide for the turn hath more power than what any man. Mine is the drowning in the sea so won. Mine is the prison of the dark ward. Mine is the strangling of the hanging by the cord, the murmuring and the churls rebelling, the groaning and the privy imposingly. I make vengeance full correction, whilst dwelling in the sign of the line. Mine is the ruin of the high hills, the falling of the towers and the walls upon the manor of the carpenter. I slew Samson in shackling and paler, and mine is the maiden called the dark Trason, and of the plots old. Mine eye is the father of postillions. Now weep no more. I shall do my diligence, that Palmar, that is mine own servant, shall have his lady, as thou didst him grant, though Mars shall keep his night. Yet nevertheless, betwixt you there must sometime be peace. All be ye not of one complexion, that every day causeth diversion. I am thy father's father. At thy will weep thou no more. I will thy lust fulfill. Now will I stinton of the gods above, of Mars and of Venus, goddess of love, and tell you as plainly as I can the great effect of which that I began. Great was the feast in Athens on that day, and eke the lusty season of that May made every wight to be in such pleasance that all the Monday joustery they and dance, and spend it in the Venus high service. But by the cause that they shall arise early a morrow for to see that fight, unto their rest went they at night. And of the morrow, when the day gained spring, of hours and harness, noise and clattering, that was all the hustling about. And to the polis rode there many a rout of lords upon steeds and palfreys, there mayest thou see diversion of harness, so uncouth and so rich, wrought and well of goldsmithery and bridery and steel. The shields bright, the helmets, the trappings gold-beaten helmets, hauberks and coat armaments, lords in clothes rich of their coursers, knights of return, and eke squires, nailing the spears and the helms buckling, girdling of shields, with the thongs lacy. Thongs lacing? With the thongs lacing where the need was. There they were nothing their form steeds of the golden bridle, knowing and fast, and armets also.
Thanks for subscribing, She Dorketh. You rock.
I love you, my dear. Nor and fast the armets also, with file and hammer, picking it to and fro, yeomen on the feet, and knobs many a one, with short staves as thick as they may goon, pipes and tramps, drums and clarinets, that in the battle blow bloody sounds, that plays full purple up and down. Hear thee there 10 holding their question, diving of those Theseus knights too, some saying thus, some saying it shall be so, some held with him that hath the black beard, some with the bald, some with the thick-haired. Indeed, indeed. I'm terribly sorry for that noise. I was wondering when you would get home, my dear. I hope all is well. So far, what you've missed is one has prayed to Mars, one has prayed to Jupiter, and the lady they're fighting over has prayed to Venus. When am I gonna... Oh, this one, or this one. Because I'm not sure as to when. I kind of want to at least finish this one, and that's somewhere I don't quite recall where. But yes, I'm more than happy to read this one. We can do in time, do not worry, my dear. I do wish to finish this one, though. How far have we got? Right, there is to the end of this one. This one sounds like it hurts your throat. Indeed it does, but it is tremendous good fun to read. We've got 62, about 22 pages to go before we get to the next one. Some said he locked green and would fight. He hath an axe of 20 pound in weight. Thus was the hall full of divine, long after that the sun gan to spring. The great Theseus, that of his sleep is waked, and minstrelsy. Oh, that's a word. Maybe it was next Sunday then. Yeah, most likely. Minstrelsy, and noise that wasn't made, kept yet the chamber of his parlours rare, till that the thesis knights broth were honoured, and into the parlours go. Duke Theseus was set at the window, read right, as he were god of throne, and purple Persite Theider ward full sown, him for to see, and do him reverence, and eke hearken his haste and his sentence, and hardled of a scaffold made a hoe, till all the nice of the purple was I do. Was it do? And when he saw the purple of nice all stale, thus showed he the might Duke's wail. The Lord hath of this high decision considered that it were destruction to gentle blood to fight in this wise in mortal battle in the enterprise. Wherefore, to sharpen that they should not die, he will this first purpose modify. No man, therefore, on pain of loss of life, no manner shot, nor poleaxe, nor short knife, into the least send, or thunder brain, nor short sword to stick with point beaton. No man shall draw or bear by his side, and nor man shall against his fellows ride. But of course, such a sharp Igrandin spear, if any fall, he shall on foot fight there, and he that is the loser shall be take, and not slain, but be brought unto the stake. How is that better? That shall be fixed by on every side, but thinder he shall be force, and there abide, and if so fell at Chieftain should go unto the stake, or else slay his foe. No longer shall the fight betwixt them last. God speed you. Go forth and lay on fast. With long sword and with mace fight your fell. Go now your way. This is the Lord's will. The voices of the people torch the sky. So loud cried they with joyalty, God save such a Lord that is so good, he willeth no destruction of blood. Up go the trumpets and the melody, and to the least ride the company. By ordinance throughout the city large, hang in the cloth of gold, and not with serge. Full like a lord this noble duke can ride, and these two timber knights on either side, and after rode the queen and Emily, and after of the ladies another company, and after the commons all in their degree, and thus they passed in through the city, and to the last come they by time. It was not of the day at full prime, when set was dark. When set was dark, Theseus rich and high, right, Hippolyta, the queen, and Emily, and other ladies in the degrees about, unto the seats presseth all the route, and wastward through the gates of Mart our sight, and eke the 100 of his part, with banners red ye entered right anon, and at that same moment Palman is under Venus, eastward in the place, with banner white, and hard cheer and face in all the world to seek, up and down, so even without doubt or question, there never were such companies tway, for there was none so wise that could say that any had. Oh, that was difficult, hold on. There was no reason for that to be difficult. That any had of the other advantage. Advantage, yes. In worthiness or state, or in a visage. So even where they chosen for to seize, and into ranks fair there them dress, and when their names I read, were every one that in the number gale was there none. One moment, please. Whew. Much better. Read everyone. Then where the gates shut, and cried loud, do now your daver, young knights proud. Now rained out the hold on. Rained, ragged out the trump and the clamour. There is no more to say, but east and west I go to spears full sorely. In the rest, in Goth, the sharp spur into the sides, there see men who can just, and who can ride. The shiver shafts upon shoulders thick, the feel through the navel, the sharp prick. Up springeth spears 20 foot on high. Out go the swords, as the silver bright. The helms they to horn and to shred. Out pressed the blood, and running streams red. With mighty maces and bones they to burst. The thought of thickest of the throng gain thrust the stumble steed strong, and down go fella. He rolleth under foot as doth a bale. He fighting on his foot with the truncheon, and hurling the other with his horse updown. The thung he thrung the body hurt is, and is take will he or no, and brought unto the stake, as covent was, right where he must abide. Another laid is on the other side, and this doth make them all to rest, them to refresh, and drink it, so them list. Full oft a day these knights, these thieves, to Todger met, and wrought his fellow woe. Unhorsed hath each other of them tway. There was no tire in the vale of Galafagi, when that her whelp is stole, when it is light, so cruel on the hunt as is our sight, for jealous heart upon his palmon, nor the balmry, there is no full lion that hunted is, or is for hunger wood, nor of the prey desireth so the blood as palman, to slay his foe our sight. The jealous strokes on his helmet's bite, there runneth blood on both their sides red. Some time and endure there is of every dead, for ere some unto his rest went, the strange King Emirates gan hent this palman, as he fought with our sight, and deep into his flesh his sword did bite, and by the force of 20 he is take, unyielding, and ye drawn unto the stake. And in the rescue of his palman, the strange King Lingerer is born adon, and King Emitrus, for all his strength, is born out of his saddle, his sword's length, so hit palman ere he would take. But all for naught, he naught was to the stake, his hardy heart might him help not, his most abide when that he was caught, and by force and eke by compassion, who sorroweth now but woeful palman, that may norm go again to fight, no more go again to fight. And when that Theseus had seen that sight, he cried, "Ho, no more, for it is done, and none shall longer unto his fellow goon. I will be to judge, and no party. Our sight of Theseus shall have Emily, that hath her by his fortune now won. Anon here is the noise of people begun, for joy of this, so loud and high withal, it seemed that the very lists would fall. What can now fair Venus do above? What saith she now? What doth this queen of love, but weepeth so for wanton of her wail, till that her tears in the liest fall? She said, I am ashamed, doubtless. Saturn said, O daughter, hold thy peace. Mars hath his will, his knight hath all his boon, and by mine head thou shalt be eased soon. The Tempest with the Lord Ministically, I don't know that word. All the trumpets with the Lord mine Minstrelsy. Minstrelsy, right. Person playing a tune. Terribly sorry. The heralds that fell loud yell and cry, be merry in their joy, for Dan our sight. But hark to me and stay, but yet I late, for there befile a miracle anon. The Arcite fearful hath put his helmet on, and on this course, for to shew his face, he pricked up and down a large place, looking upwards upon his Emily, and she again him cast a friendly eye. For women, for to speak, as in common they follow all the favour of fortune, and was all his in cheer, and in his heart. Out of the ground of fire internal street, from Pluto sent at request of Saturn, for such his horse, of fear gone ta'en, and leap aside, and foundering as he leap, and ere the Arcite may of this take keep, he pied him on the pommel of his head, that in the place he lay he was dead. Oh, good lord. So he won the fight, but his horse bucked him off, and he landed with his head against the pommel of a weapon, and he's dead. His breast to broken with his said bow, as black he lay as any coal or crow, so was the blood running in his face, anon he was borne out of the place, with hard sore to Theseus parleys. Then was the carving out of his harness. Oh God, yeah. Oh, and in a bed full fair and soft he brought, for yet he was in memory and thought, and always crying after Emily, Duke Theseus and all his company, is coming home to Athens, his city, with all bliss and great solemnity, albeit that this adventure was fail. He would not discomfort them all. Men said that Arcite should not die. He shall be hailed for his melding, and of other thing they were as fain, that of them all there was none slain. All were they sore heart, and namely one that was a spear was pierced his breastbone. To the other wonders, and to broken arms, some hidden salves, and some hidden charms, drugs of herbs and sage of doctors gave to drinking, for they would their lives save, and eke this noble Duke, as he well can, come forth, and honoureth every man, and made revel all the large night, unto the strange lords, as it was right, nor there was holden nor discomfiting, but as at just, or at a turnian, for the southly, and there was a discomfort, for falling down is but an adventure, and to be led with force under the stake, unyielding with the 20 knights take, a person alone, without helpers mow, and danger forth by army foot and toe, and eke his steed driving forth with strives, with footmen both, yeaning and eke knives. If was not counted him no volleying, nor any man held in the cowardry. For which Duke Theseus loud anon let cry, the stain and adorate, the Stainton, all rancor and all envy. The prize was well on one side as on other, and every side like as other's brother, and gave their gifts after their degree, and fully held feast days 3, and covered the knights worthy out of his tone and journey largely, and home went every man. Terribly sorry. The right way. There was no more, but farewell, have good day. Of this betrayal I will not more indite, but spake of Palmore in our sight, swelleth the breast of our sight, and of sore and crasteth at his heart mores and more the clothed blood, for all the like craft corrupteth, and is in his bloody left, that neither vein blood, ne any cotton, ne drink of herbs may be his helping. The virtue explosive of animal, the virtue expulsive or animal, from thy like virtue clapped natural, may not the venue void nor expel the pipes of this lungs gan to swell, and every muscle in his breast adone is filled with venom and corruption. There help him neither, for to get his life warmed upward, ne downward legs tiff. All is to break and thelk, raging. Nature hath now no demansion. I do apologize. Dimension. And certainly, where nature will not work, farewell, physic. Go bear the men of Craig, Church. Okay. This is the end that our side must die, for which he sendeth after Emily and Pullman, that was his cousin dear, and said he this, as ye shall after hear. Not may the woeful spirit in mine heart declare a point of all sorrow smate to you, my lady, that I love most, but I bequeath the service of my ghost to you above every creature, since that my life may now no longer dare. Alas, the woe! Alas, the pain strong! that I for you have suffered and so long. Alas the death! Alas mine Emily! Alas departure of the company! Alas mine heart's queen! Alas my wife! Mine heart's lady, ender of my life! What is this world? What asken men to have? Now with his love, now in this cold grave alone, without any company. Farewell, my sweet. Farewell, mine Emily. And soft, take me in your arms, tway, for love of God, and hark to what I say. I have here with my cousin Palman had strife and rancor, many a day I gone for love of you, and eke for jealousy. And Jupiter have on my soul pity, to speaketh of a lover properly, with all circumstances truly, that is to say in truth, honor, knighted, wisdom, humbles, estate, and high kindred, freedom, and all that langeth to that art. So Jupiter have of my soul part, as in the world right now I know none so worthy to be loved as Palmon, that serveth you and will do all his life. And if that ye shall ever be a wife, forget not Palmon, that gentle man. And with that word his speech fail again, for from his heart up to his breast was come the cold of death, and him had overcome, and yet moreover in his arms too the vital strength is lost, and all ego, at least the intellect without more, that dwelled in the heart the sore, gan fail, and the heart's fail death, dusked his eyes too, and failed his breath, but on his lady yet he cast his eye. His last words was, mercy, Emily. His spirit changed was, and went there, as I came never. I cannot tell where therefore I stayed. I am not devised of souls find I not in the registry, nor list I those opinions to tell of them, though not that they knoweth where they dwell, our sight is cold, let Mars his soul take. Now well I on the stories further spake, shrieked Emily, and howled Palmon, and Theseus his sister took anon, swooning, and bare here fro and corpse away. What helpeth it to tear forth the day? I'm actually going to hold there for the night, because holy balls, my throat hurts. But we very nearly made 2 hours once more. Oh. Holy crap. So our site is dead. Theasis, I believe, is dead, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm fairly sure he is. Emily wants nothing to do with either of them, but will serve because it's the done thing. Done, not dumb. I'm thoroughly looking forward to see how it ends. But for now, as ever, we shall play a little tune, and I shall find someone to pass you lot off to. Good Lord, my throat hurts. I do thoroughly enjoy it, though. Let us see whom is online. Oh, hey, Degibbed is streaming. Yes, we shall raid Degibbed. As ever, travel with nothing but love in your heart. And spread nothing but loved. Nothing but loved, nothing but love. Wonderful, that is all set up. I shall run a very short advertisement. And once more, say if you can do but anything, make someone's day a touch better. Try.